Good evening, welcome to the Border Zone project. Today our guest is the head of the NATO liaison office in Georgia, Ms. Rozarии Pуглиси. Good evening, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're meeting today when NATO exercises are taking place in Georgia. Lots of ships are coming, soldiers threatening Russian borders. Could you please tell me the first thing, the most important thing for our audience in Armenia, in Azerbaijan, in Russia? What is the main purpose of this training, of this exercise, and is it threatening anyone around?
No, these are not threatening exercises. I mean, there is no intention on anyone's side to threaten neither Russia or any of the neighbors of Georgia. And also I want to specify that the ships that are coming next week have nothing to do with the exercise. These are two separate things. The exercises are an important moment for training for the Georgian armed forces. These are command post exercises. It means that they are not field exercises. There are no tanks, there are no soldiers, but there are representatives of 24 countries. 3 of these are partner countries. Of course, Georgia is among these countries. And Georgia, in fact, has organized these exercises for the first time. These are basically, if you want, computer-based exercises aimed at making sure that the command and staff training center, which is inside the joining training and exercise center here in Tbilisi, can plan and execute exercises using the NATO exercise practice. So far the experience has been very good. The Georgian armed forces have been planning this for 18 months together under the supervision of NATO officers, and everything has worked out very well. We are expecting, I think they've already landed at the moment, the visit of the NATO Military Committee. They are basically the military representatives of the 29 allied countries who will come here to Georgia to familiarize themselves with the situation in Georgia and to take a look at what is going on.
So, no soldiers at all?
Well, I mean, as I said, there are 300 soldiers, servicemen and servicewomen from NATO and partner countries who participate, but this is not a field exercise. So they are...
Understood. And this...
and let me also add, sorry, I just wanted to, this is important, I wanted to add, this is a non-Article 5 scenario, so it means that they are not exercising on defending themselves against the external attack.
What is this scenario?
It's a humanitarian assistance scenario, and it's out of area altogether. So a little bit far.
What is the purpose of these military ships coming to Georgia, to Batumi, to Poti?
Well, I mean, this is a completely different story, and we need to make sure that there is no overlapping and no confusion from this point of view. I mean, now it is true that NATO is increasing its presence in the Black Sea. I mean, especially after the illegal annexation of Crimea, the dynamics of the Black Sea has changed dramatically, and NATO has become more active to defend, to make sure that the freedom of navigation in the Black Sea is respected. I mean, we have 3 NATO countries that are littoral countries. We have 2 major partners of NATO, Georgia and Ukraine, who are coastal countries of the Black Sea. We have a joint interest in making sure that the Black Sea remains a sea of peace and security. So over the last year, the number of days that NATO ships spend in the Black Sea has gone up. Last year we had 120 days of presence of NATO ships in the Black Sea. We've also increased the police surveillance in the Black Sea. We are working very closely with Georgia, training boarding teams of the Coast Guard, supporting the development of the Coast Guard of Georgia. We are exchanging information on the security situation in the Black Sea, and this is to the joint advantage of both NATO on one side and Georgia on the other side.
But how it helped, for example, in Ukraine when Ukrainian ship was, sailors was kidnapped in Azov and Kerch?
Well, I mean, we keep discussing the issue of the Sea of Azov with the Russians. I also want to stress that the relationship with Russia, of course, are not easy at the moment, but they're not. Our approach is not only based on defense and deterrence, but also is based on dialogue. So we do have regular, not easy exchanges with the highest Russian representatives, and basically, the first topic that is generally aborded is the security in Ukraine, and what are the measures that the Russian authorities want to undertake to reverse the current situation in Ukraine. There is an increased presence, there is an increased attention. With Georgia, we are also studying new opportunities to strengthen the capacity of the Coast Guard of Georgia in this respect, and we're very much concerned and working for
Do you
the
have
sake
any
of
information
security.
from your colleagues coming here about the level of readiness of Georgian forces, Coast Guards?
Well, I mean, it's not for me to judge on the readiness of Georgian armed forces, but I have to tell you that over the last years, we have worked, we both as NATO and on a bilateral basis, NATO allies and Georgia, we've worked very closely together. The Georgian forces have been involved in international missions with NATO in Afghanistan, for example, for a very long time. They fought side by side with NATO troops. They have become increasingly more interoperable with NATO troops.
So we can say that the level is rising year after year.
It is, and I think that any Georgian military officer would be able to confirm that.
Very good. These days, Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg came to Georgia, visited trainings, talked to Prime Minister, President. How can you, which result do we have after his visit to Georgia, and what was the purpose?
Well, I mean, first of all, let me say that it was a very successful visit on our side. We were very pleased with the character of exchanges, with the information that we shared, with the hospitality that the Secretary General was given. We had meetings, of course, with the Prime Minister, with the Minister of Interior, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Defense. We met President Zurabashvili. The Secretary General was briefed in JTEC about the exercises, and he also met veterans who had fought, some of them also in Afghanistan, and they are a very inspiring presence because, despite, of course, their heavy injuries, they have bounced back, and some of them have become sport champions. So this is something Georgia should be really proud of. So all in all, I think it was successful also because, the Secretary General had a very good opportunity to repeat the very clear messages that we've been sending out already for some time, that Georgia is going to become a member of NATO, that for the time being, we really need to keep working both in terms of political dialogue and in terms of practical cooperation, that a lot of work is going on at the moment to strengthen the defense capacity of Georgia, and that one day Georgia will become a member of the alliance. We are very grateful for the work that Georgia has done with us in Afghanistan again, and we are very confident that our partnership has never been stronger than this. I think that this is.
But were there any concrete mission or goal to with this visit, or it was just like a sign of support to Georgia?
Well, I mean, it was not a general sign of support. I mean, it was meant to reiterate, as I said, messages that have been sent out already, and to give a concrete indication to the population that NATO is firmly on the side of Georgia in its Euro-Atlantic aspiration. So from that point of view, I think that the message went through pretty well.
Yeah, it was very important for Georgia, of course. And a few minutes ago, you said about the dialogue with Russia and mentioning Ukraine in this dialogue as a part of this dialogue. And I'm interested whether Secretary General is aware about all activities of Russia in Georgia, including some activities that are coming before any important activity of Georgia with NATO.
Of course, I mean, we are monitoring the situation on the ground very closely. The Secretary General is fully informed about what is going on, and I'm sure that you've heard him yourself saying that we certainly do not recognize the annexation, or not the annexation, sorry, the declaration of independence of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, that we call actually back for Russia to unrecognize these countries, that we support Georgian territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders, that issues like borderization, the continuous movement of the border, illegal kidnappings of citizens are human rights violations that cannot be accepted. And I mean, of course, we are not directly involved in the settlement of the conflict. You know that the UN, the European Union and the OSCE are directly involved in the negotiations. The UMM has a physical presence on the ground, so we really follow.
But Russia is involving NATO in this conflict, stating the Russian government stating that NATO is the reason of this conflict and these violations.
Well, allow me to disagree that NATO is the reason for this conflict. I mean, there are long-standing reasons behind that, and I mean, I'm not sure that we have the time to discuss all that.
Very long talk. Could you please tell me?
I just wanted to add another thing. Sorry, when we were talking about the political dialogue with NATO, I mean, of course, the presence of the Secretary General is very important because it's a very clear indication. The visit at the moment of the military committee is also very important. But I mean, we have a very dense calendar this year. I mean, you've met yourself the maritime commander of NATO. We are expecting at a certain point throughout the year the president of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly. We have a large number of visitors, and this is very important because it reiterates that Georgia is a very important partner for NATO, that we do care a lot, and we are working very closely with Georgia to make it possible for it to become a member. So it's not just symbolic, but it's physical presence and physical assistance.
My last question, very interesting for all the audience, I don't know, in the world maybe. Do you think that these activities, I mean, this lots of visits and etc., is a good answer and it's enough to, as a symbol, to show Russian government, for example, that Georgia is a part of some Western world and security of Georgia is like, I don't know, it's protected by this NATO organization, maybe without Article 5, but as a partner of something bigger.
I would not want to mix Article 5 with the political dialogue. So, but I mean, on our side, it is meant to show our solidarity and our proximity to Georgia. I mean, Georgia is a member of the Western community. The Prime Minister himself told us several times that Georgia's choice to become a member of NATO and the European Union is actually value-based. And I mean, if you look at the surveys, the figures of support for NATO membership. They keep increasing them. In the last, according to the last one, 78% of the population said
it's a lot.
It's a lot. It is really a lot, and becoming members of NATO and the European Union is also an objective that is enshrined in the new constitution. I mean, I don't have. It's not me who has to say whether Georgia is or not a member. It is already. I think it's self-evident that it is already a member of the international community. It has demonstrated already for a long time its commitment to international security by participating, for example, in the operations in Afghanistan. It is a well-respected partner.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you
for your time.